This is going to be a short video explaining how you make real Italian sauce. It took me about 8 years to figure this out, sadly. And then one day it dawned on me that if I approached it how I thought, the actual guys who invented these recipes would have stumbled upon it, then maybe that's it. And I was right. I had one sauce and it's stuck in my mind, and there's thousands of different sauces, and none of them are better than the others, but this is one that always stuck out of my mind, and it's very robust. It's dark. It's got this like burny, it's like sort of a burn flavor, but not spicy burn. It's a different type of burn, and once I explain it, you'll understand why and what it is. And there's thousands of different ways you can do this, but this is just the basis of it. And so you get your basics, your Italian seasoning. I always get a whole thing of just oregano for this, because this is the essential ingredient. And I don't have any olive oil. You can do it with olive oil. You don't need olive oil. And personally, I use this in almost everything I cook, just because it's I love that flavor. Anyway, so I use petite diced. I'm trying chipotle this time, but I always get fire roasted. And cook it slow and long. A lot of people don't recommend using crock pots for this, but I have never found an issue using crock pot. Honestly, this cooks it so consistently. And this is about an 8-hour recipe, so one can will do it. I'm making meatballs though, so. But this is just the explanation of the sauce. And I always get the diced. Sometimes I'll get a can of crushed too, especially crushed. Crushed, you put a can of crushed, kind of diced. The crushed cooks down, makes that smooth sauce, and then these start slow cooking down. But the secret is adding your seasonings at 3-4 separate times while you're cooking. That's the secret. So we'll get murdered by any mafiosos out there, huh? So this is, honestly, this is Dollar General, but this isn't too bad. They use a lot of sage in it. Or, not sage. Maybe it's marjoram. There's something in here that they use a little too much of, but for the most part, this is really good for what it is. It's just crushed herbs. And so you just, whatever feels good to you. I like a lot, so over time, a lot of modern chefs, they tell you to add your seasonings at the end, because that's where you get all the flavor. And that's why Italian sauces don't have this flavor anymore. This takes all day to do, because what you're doing is slowly burning the herbs. And so I add just love oregano on it. Normally I have crushed peppers, so I might be using a little too much, but when I'm going to add the meat to it, that oil's going to soak up and fry the oil from the meatballs. Helps fry the I need a fork. Helps fry the herbs and blacken them. And so you do that, eventually you come back 3-4 hours later, add more, taste it, see how much more you need. This will be ruined. You're not going to taste these herbs. What you're going to get is a whole other flavor that takes a long time to coalesce and create. And I like a lot of garlic. I like onion in it. I like just a tad of cloves. This stuff is so strong. But if you just do just a tad, and that's really all it takes to get that clove flavor. Otherwise it can ruin it. But if you do it just enough. Oh, cinnamon too. Cinnamon. Yeah. And a little bit of cinnamon. Almost forgot. Because the cinnamon and clove gives it like a holiday-ish flavor that I personally like, but most people probably wouldn't. And you just sort of stir it up. Not all the way, because what this thing does, it evaporates and cycles water, and so then that eventually, it's slower. It cooks the herbs a little bit slower. And just a little bit of that. It's very strong, but you need an acid. And a lot of these old cookers, they are lead based. So if you still have one of these, mine's in really good shape. No cracks or anything. So the glaze itself doesn't have lead in it. It's the clay that they make it out of. Always use real garlic. Buy that minced shit at the store. I mean, it's not expensive. It's not hard to use. It's 50 cents for a clove at most stores. And so, like I was saying, this took me 8 years to figure out because there's so many different variables to cooking a tomato sauce to try and figure out that one little thing. And they all, yeah, I've only had it once. I've never forgot about it. And it's just a nice, dark, robust, just lovely flavor. I don't even wash my lid. But the crock pot really gives a consistent cooking temperature. I was always burning my sauces on the stove. And it can just come out terrible because if you get the sauce too hot, you'll have this disgusting flavor. And then some sauce recipes use boiled tomatoes. They want you to boil them. It's crazy. But, like I was saying, so yeah, then those seasonings darken, you come back, you taste it. And it's always, I usually tend to add more when the initial herb flavor's gone. And then those will start to blacken. And then you add the fresh ones. And depending on how much of that burned sort of herb flavor, it just doesn't sound good, but it really is. Just that robust, I don't even know what to call it. There's nothing else that tastes like it. So I call it like a burn flavor because you're burning the herbs. And I figured the guys who discovered these recipes probably tried adding oregano at the beginning. Lost the flavor and like, what if I add more? Then you add, you know, the rest of your herbs that you want to get that flavor at the end of it. And this takes about 8 hours to do. And personally, I just leave my meatballs in there and let them steam and cook. And I wrap herbs around, or meat around the herbs, and then do other stuff with that. But that's meatballs. This is about sauce. So sauce. That's the secret to that dark, robust flavor, that elusive Italian flavor that is just so good. Because it takes forever to make. And, you know, then you add the seasonings and the flavors you want at the end of it, and that'll give you, yeah, the fresh herb flavor. But I've never found a difference between real fresh oregano and just this sort of stuff. Honestly, I think this is what you need for this dried oregano. And these are actually pretty good. It's not green like it usually is. But for $1, you really can't beat what this will give you instead of spending $6 on one of these. That's it. So I'll come back in 2-3 hours, check on it, add my meatballs halfway through. Meatballs cook a lot quicker. And then I never add water. If you add water early, it's okay. But if you add it later, it really ruins the flavor that you just spent all day making. And then tonight I'm making a video about the double slit and all the fun things you can do with it to create interference patterns. Other than that, I think that's everything. So yeah, come back in 4 hours, 2-3 hours, check on it every once in a while, make sure that those burn slowly, because you don't want to burn your tomatoes. You don't want to get them too hot, that's why I cook it on low. Well, you should start it on high, that way it doesn't take 2 extra hours just to get the temperature. But then you come back and you add more, and then wait till the end when you think it's done. Add just a pinch of sugar. Brown sugar is really good. Just a pinch. A friend online told me about it, and she was right. It actually does help. Just a little bit. And that's it. That's the secret to whatever that Italian flavor is that, like I said, a lot of people don't cook like that. And it might have been this place down the hill, down the mountain. There's this pizza place right next to a liquor store, and the family that owns it's old Italian, and they're immigrant, old Italian immigrants to the United States, and well, they got this wood grill and started cooking, and he's cooking his grandma's old recipe that's been handed down for generations, and those meatballs are so good. And I think that's the sauce. Yeah, that old robust, just dark burn marinara flavor. That might have been where I had it. Other than that, I am rambling in my video because it reached all of its points. But I am going to go make the double slit and see if I can't figure out how I rotated a shadow again. Because this time I have a phone that's charged.